Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Wednesday, January 27th, 2016, and it is now time for the Daily Rocket and, of course, this week's EU Power Rankings. I hope you are excited, because I know I am. Welcome to the fun. My name is Shalthis, y'all know me. So I'm here to bring you the top 10 in Europe for this week, based off of not only the results of this past week, but their results and performance as of late. That's why these are the power rankings and not just standings. So, after last week, we had a bit of a controversial top 2, I guess is the thing to say. I certainly got a lot of questions and tweets and such about it, which is fair. You know, a lot of people had their opinions, and I still stand by the results of last week's power rankings. But this week's power rankings are going to be slightly different in a lot of different ways, so that really makes no sense at all. Doesn't matter. I think we should get down to business. So this week, of course, we are continuing to have our Power Ranking Committee evaluations, where we had a bunch of people apply to be a part of the Power Ranking Committee. They submitted some test rankings and gave us a little idea of how they rank and how they write. And then we decided to start inviting these people over the course of several weeks to actually participate in the committee itself, so they could get a taste for what to expect. So this week, we have invited Lunation, who is a very well-known player, formerly from Gold Rush, now from a new team, and Wrong Way Woody, who I mock relentlessly, but he is part of Team Rocket, so it's all good to me. Formerly, of course, of Team Sweemus and so on. So, in any event, here we are, ready for the top 10. I hope you're ready, because I know I am. So, as they say in Mulan, let's get down to business. So here we go, top 10 for this week, based off of, again, the performance of the past week, as well as performance of late. So a little bit of clarity before I get into this list. A lot of people seem to have the wrong idea of what these power rankings mean. Basically, when a team hits a certain rank in these power rankings, it's because we feel at that point in time that is their, to use a Dragon Ball Z reference, that's their power level. That's their effectiveness that we feel in a tournament, in an event. The teams below them, they could beat. The teams above them, they might lose to. That's the general idea. So we're not saying that they're necessarily better. We're not saying that they've gotten more wins or better wins. That's usually just how it works out. So the head-to-head is obviously really good, but we look at a lot of factors when we calculate these rankings. So without any further ado, shall we? So starting things off, whoa, excuse me. Anyway, starting things off in at number 10, Anavia RL. So Anavia RL is cracking into the power rankings for the first time, coming up from the lower part. Jeez, hopefully I don't lose my voice. I'm trying to do this thing. I got a stream later tonight too. Anyway, Anavia RL breaks into these top 10 power rankings with a great performance at ESL, which saw them actually beat Team Rocket in the final in pretty convincing fashion. So that's going to be enough to get them in, introduce them to the power rankings, and hopefully we'll see more out of them. This has been a team that's kind of always been on the radar. Certainly a team that I've had my eye on for you know, now and then, with a lot of other teams, as a matter of fact. But to see them finally cracking into that top 10 is very exciting. So good on them. Good result this past week. We'll see if they can keep it up. Of course, more ESL, more Gfinity, more other events that I'm sure will be on the horizon for Anavia. So good for them. But in at number 10 is them. So now at number 9, the Three Musketeers. So they're going to fall one spot this week. Little surprising. I had them actually a little bit lower, I believe. But Three Musketeers not having the best past few weeks. Kind of looking, I don't want to say bad or anything. They're not looking bad, but they're not looking the way they used to. They came into the scene and they came into our power rankings looking like a very dominant potent squad. You know, they came in with a lot of pretty significant results and started to taper off. So, could be due to roster changes, could be just due to the natural progression of teams in Europe especially. But we'll have to see how it goes. So in at number 9, of course, is Three Musketeers, so they've made it at least that far. So they're, again, down 1 spot from last week. And that brings us to number 8, Team Rocket. So Team Rocket, earning a couple of spots here based off of their recent performance through ESL, through Gfinity, and just the fact that they are putting the work in. You know, they're actually having a series of good weeks. And the one word that has always eluded Team Rocket, at least in the time that I've been ranking them and watching them play, is consistency. They have lacked in consistency, and that doesn't necessarily mean winning every tournament they enter, but it does mean always playing at a certain level. You know, you go back in time a few months and watch Team Rocket play, and one week they'll finish in the top 4 or top 8 of a tournament. The next week they'll be out in the first round. You know, they've always been hard to read and fairly inconsistent. But lately, over the last, I want to say 3 weeks or so, they've really started to get a pattern going and definitely look to be like they might be working their way up these rankings. Now, the biggest hurdle now is making sure they're consistent with their wins. Now, obviously, they lost to Anavia this past week. The only reason Anavia is not ranked above Team Rocket is these are power rankings, not weekly rankings. So, if Anavia beats them again, we can expect a bit of a shuffle here. But as it stands right now, the one win earned them a spot in the power rankings. Team Rocket, though, their performance as of late has bumped them up above these two teams. So, good on Team Rocket to make it up to number 8 again. I'm actually a little surprised because I thought Team Rocket would slowly start to fade away from these power rankings. But it seems that their approach at taking everything kind of casual and not putting a lot of real heavy-duty focus on it has paid off. And they're actually starting to perform better, probably dealing with less stress. And of course, they have slightly varied rosters from time to time. We know that Doomsea is sometimes on, sometimes off. We've got Cole, Woody, O'Neill. So they've got a very well-rounded roster going into these tournaments. And we'll see them on Saturday. They're going to be participating in the Gfinity Invitational, so we'll see them there, and we will also hopefully see them play ESL on Sunday. We'll see if they can get another ESL title, but they are going to have to hold off on Avia, I'm sure. So Team Rocket in number 8. Number 7, Spectral. So Spectral is going to drop 1 ranking here. Basically, Spectral as of late has been looking a little shaky, but they've had some pretty stiff competition. Obviously, the majority of what they do, pretty much all of what they do, is within the RLC Pro League. And they have had a bit of a rough time, all things considered. So, when it comes to Spectral, they have a very effective roster. We know that. They have very skilled players. We know that. I just think if we can see a little bit more in the way of better results, and maybe picking up some wins over the top 6 teams on a consistent basis, then we'll see them move back up. But this is where the rankings, of course, typically get a little hairy, because you never know what teams are going to do what. They're usually pretty close in these rankings. All the teams through 1 through 7 can tend to be fairly close. Well, maybe not 1 and 2, but 3 through 7 can be fairly close. So in any event, Spectral in at number 7. Oop, I meant to have that off. Sorry. No alerts during the show. In any event, Spectral in number 7. Excuse me, jeez. In at number 6, Noble Esports. So Noble's going to go up a spot here. Despite their performance this past week where they dropped 3 games to MyXMG, they still had a very good showing over the last few weeks, looking pretty good in the various tournaments they've been a part of. And Noble, not quite back at the level where they were, but I would say in a good spot. You know, they're starting to gain that rhythm again. They're starting to rebuild that again. It may take a little time. I don't know what their approach is going to be as far as, you know, making all that happen. But as it stands right now, they're still using the same roster they've had for a very long time. We know the effectiveness of the players on that team. I mean, Vogan, Skyline, and Stocky are 3 very strong players, and should be higher than they are. Should be able to win more than they do. So I've always been interested to see why they have this inconsistency. And I know that they've altered their strategy. I think they are trying to play a game that counters the top game better, which is the flip side game, the Crown and Jewels style of play, all that sort of stuff. They're playing a strategy that tries to counter that better, so I'm hoping it pays off for them. I really do. But with that, we move on to number 5, and that is going to be My XMG. So My XMG, no movement in the power rankings, but they will hold on to that number 5 spot, mainly because they, of course, beat Noble in 3 games of their series this past Sunday. And they've been looking better and better. You know, they had the previous week off, so we had to go based off of head-to-head and just their normal positioning. So they weren't able to break out of this, I don't say break out, but they're still working on themselves a little bit too. And I'm hoping that this, you know, we'll see them on Saturday in the Invitational, we'll see them Sunday in the Pro League. So basically, I think pretty much every team from this point up will be a part of that Invitational, and will also be in the Pro League. So we'll get a lot from this weekend from both of them, from all of them. And hopefully this will be a chance for My XMG to start cracking into the top 4. But the top 4 is where things get a little interesting because there's not a lot of separation between these teams. So that takes us to number 4, SK Gaming. So SK holding on to that number 4 spot. No real surprise here either. SK has been in a bit of a downturn. They had this past week off from the Pro League, so they didn't have any movement. They're going to stick at number 4. But what I will say is SK, you know, as I said, has been in a bit of a downturn ever since ever since Yemen left the team. It has been a bit difficult for them to get back into that championship rhythm that they had. So with SK, they've got some work to do. Hopefully this time away has paid off. They've got the Invitational Saturday and the RLC Pro League on Sunday. They'll be taking on Spectral, so they might be in a good spot there to try and rebuild that rhythm against a team who's also struggling. But they are going to have a difficult time in the Invitational because they'll be facing a lot of these other top teams. And we'll have a hard time right now. I'm going to get it from calling him Yemen. Lemon. Whatever. Anyway, SK in at number 4. That takes us to number 3, Supersonic Avengers. Again, no movement here for Supersonic Avengers, holding down the fort securely in at number 3. After that initial week in the Pro League where they dropped 5 games straight to Crown and Jewels, they have since come back to have a very impressive showing throughout and have 4-1 their way into a very nice position, not only in power rankings, but also in the standings for the Pro League. So it's been looking very good for Supersonic Avengers. They're in a nice spot and have been looking really good as of late. So they're on the cusp of breaking into that top 2, I think, depending on how, you know, more other results go. Now, obviously, we know that Avengers, I think they still have Flipside in their schedule for the Pro League. Obviously, they already got clobbered by Crown and Jewels. That happened in Week 1. But there are other tournaments, and we'll see how that all plays out. So for Supersonic Avengers, they are coming in at number 3, and that takes us to our top 2. Now, the top 2 was the source of a lot of controversy this past week. During the previous power rankings, due to the order, we put Crown and Jewels in at number 1 and Flipside at number 2. A lot of people disagreed with that. Some people agreed with that. I stand by it, you know, despite everything, and we knew that coming into this week, we would have a very clear and definitive picture of who our number 1 and 2 teams are because they were going to play one another. They were going to play one another in the Pro League in a set of 5 games, so we would know definitively who was number 1. And it goes without saying who our top 2 teams are in this respective order. In at number 2, Crown and Jewels, and in at number 1, Flipside Tactics. So Crown and Jewels and Flipside Tactics, like I said, met in the RLC Pro League during Week 3 in a set of 5 games, and Flipside Tactics came out firing. 4-1 was the set. Flipside would also go on to win Gfinity a couple days before. So they would have 2 huge wins on their plate and show off why they are very clearly the #1 team in Europe. Crown and Jewels basically were shut down by Flipside, essentially. The dominant performance they would show over teams like Spectral and Supersonic Avengers would not be there against Flipside. And they would be, like I said, effectively clobbered by their opponents. And Flipside absolutely owned these rankings this week. There is no debate over this. Flipside is undisputed #1 in Europe for this week, just based off of everything that has transpired lately, and the head-to-head. Head-to-head is obviously very important, and Flipside certainly earned that. So there you have it. There's your top 10 for Europe for this week, based off of our committee of 6 people. So I obviously owe a lot of thanks to our trial members, Wrong Way Woody and Lunation, who came in and submitted their rankings and did the research to put these top 10 teams in place. Well, top 15, as you can see, there's the on the bubble teams that are scrolling by on the bottom of the screen. So great work on their part, but here you are. There's your top 10. So y'all know how this part of the show goes. We've revealed the top 10. Now it's your time to ask away. What are your questions? Do you have any questions about the power rankings, about the competitive scene itself, about the game itself? Whatever you may have, or any questions you may have, now is your time to ask them. So, here we go. Q&A time. The floor is yours, Twitch chat. Have at it, you. But I think a very fair and a pretty good power ranking this week. Where's Comrade? They're on the list. They're not on the top 15. I think they're just outside. They are the team to watch for Woody. So. Okay. Do I miss Ipuro? Hi there. And yes, I do. I know my wife does as well, so we need to make it back. We've got another trip that we want to make first, but yeah, we need to make it back. Which team in the top 10 is the best looking players? Well, if you ask them, any of them. But the one that's probably going to tell you the loudest is Team Rocket. I know this is EU, but what is your opinion on Nexus? Well, I do the NA power rankings too, so that's fine. Well, Untethered, the boys formerly of Nexus, I don't know what their status is, but they're not apparently with Nexus any longer. They are a very solid team. They've had a bit of a downturn because they had a long stretch of time where they couldn't play because the only real competitive thing was Rocket Royale, and they couldn't play on Saturdays to re-qualify, so it made life difficult. But they're an outstanding team, and I'm hoping they get back into fighting form, though it's been a little rough on them lately. Alright, hold on. Trying to get caught up. What is power rankings for real? I explained what the power rankings are. Well, to give you the basic gist, a committee of professional players and or personalities in the competitive scene, or just people who have been involved in the competitive scene since practically day one, every week we look at the performances of most of the teams in Europe or North America, and we evaluate where we feel they rank based off of that performance, and we look at not only the past week, but previous weeks, as well as our previous rankings, and just kind of figure out how they've done lately and how effective they are. Is Scrubkilla on any of these teams? No, he is not. I think he's here, but no, he's not. He already answered that, but no, he's not. Anyway. How do I consistently ceiling pinch into the goal? Don't ask me. I'm not a player. I'm a talking head. Alright. No, Dirty. No, I don't. if Galactic Lions change their name to Galactic Loins, they'd probably do better. Well, I mean, let them know. See if they're willing. The team is named Crown and Jewels because they are sponsored by a company called Crown and Jewels. It's not a, like, we're going to be clever and just come up with a name. Crown and Jewels is a German, like, wine company. And they sponsor Crown and Jewels RL. So, that is the situation there. I asked the same question. Believe me. When I first saw the name, I was like, what? But it turns out they are sponsored by a German wine company, and that is the name of that company. So, what place is Comrade? I believe Comrade is... Well, they're in that 16th spot. You know, we only rank up to 15, but I think they're also a team to watch, so they're probably very close to that spot. Well, I have as much information as you have about that as far as the sponsorship. Untethered left Nexus. I don't know the story behind it. I just know that they did. And yeah, Apollo left SNK, so they're no longer part of that team. They have their own reasons. Now, that's something I will talk about in a second. But without further ado, let me just move on to the rest of the questions. I'll come back to that later. What sort of influence do these power rankings have? Nothing, really. And are they just for fun? Basically. We've been doing them for months now. And they used to affect what teams got invited to play in Rocket Royale every week. But ever since that stopped and the Pro League started, they're just kind of for fun, in a way. And it helps us, you know, we do this basically to make it easier for people to understand the competitive scene, what teams to watch, what teams are being the most effective and the most consistent across both NA and EU. So it's good for people who are new to the competitive scene, or even people who don't get to watch everything and want to know why teams are where they are and perform the way they do. So I don't think I've lost weight. But no, if I lost weight due to stress, I'd be rail thin. That'd be great. But no such luck. Alright, let's see. Which side, EU or NA, do you think has more of a competitive scene? Definitely EU. And everybody in EU will tell you that. EU is chock full of teams that are swapping places left and right. It's less like that in NA, and usually it's a little more consistent as to which teams you'll see in the rankings, but in EU, it gets really tricky. And I think everybody will tell you the same thing. Why is Team Rocket this low? Well, 2 weeks ago they were 15, last week they were 10, now they're 8. They're doing what you're supposed to do, and they're working their way back up. Because they haven't really done anything as of late, but now they have. Did you hear about No Mercy HyperX? No. No, I have not. Alright, trying to get all cut up. How many teams have sponsors? On this list, well, by sponsors, I also include teams that are signed by orgs. So in the top 10 here, only 1, 2, 3, 4... Only 4 teams are not on a larger org, nor are they sponsored directly. And that's Supersonic Avengers, Spectral, Team Rocket, and Three Musketeers. So, no, Three Musketeers not sponsored by the candy company, or the candy bar. But yeah, I don't know if they make the drink. I guess that's true. I do know they make the bottles, but I know the products they advertise on their website include the contents. So I don't know how it works. I know they make really fancy bottles with, you know, jewel encrusted wine bottles and stuff. So I don't, or champagne, yeah. But I don't know. You know, it's a German website and I don't speak German, so that's my problem. But the gist is that, yeah, they are basically a separate company that has sponsored a Rocket League team. All right. Yeah, I don't know what the situation with Nexus was. You know, I've heard things here and there, but I really don't know for sure what the deal is. So. Who do you think is going to be number 3 in the NA power rankings, and why do you think so? I don't really know. I know who I put there, and I'll talk about the NA power rankings and who I put there and who I think will be there on Friday when I reveal it. Well, not reveal it, but when we talk about it. I think NA can catch up to EU. There's not like a massive difference in terms of overall skill. You know, a lot of those NA teams could fit in on the EU rankings. It's just that more of EU would probably be there if you looked at an international ranking. And yeah, I think they can catch up. It's just going to depend on how the scene grows. I don't do favorite players. I don't have favorite players. I know too many of them, and I don't rank them that way. Who do I think is better, Flipside or Cosmic? Flipside. I mean, they haven't played each other in a very long time, but I would still give that nod to Flipside. I don't know how close it is, though. I want them to play each other, and they probably will do that depending on how the tournament finals go for the Pro League. But we shall see. Yeah, we talked about Untethered. I don't know exactly why they left. As far as Apollo, their contract came up. They didn't want to re-sign. That had been in discussion for a while. I actually knew they weren't going to be re-signing when I joined SNK. So I knew kind of going into it I was going to have to try to find a new team. So that's just kind of how it worked. But yeah, basically just contracts expiring. Not wanting to re-sign. You know. But it's fair. I mean, okay. I'm going to take a second to talk about this because obviously it's been a bit of a thing. So I don't know the entire situation between SNK and Apollo. I know their side, I know SNK's side. I had nothing to do with it, nor was I involved in that decision at all, because I joined after that decision had already been made. I don't think it was handled as well as it could have been, for sure. I am still under contract to SNK. I'm going to still try and fulfill my obligation, which is, as a team manager, is to try and find a new team to join SNK and to, you know, be a part of the team. Do I expect it to be a very difficult time based off of everything that's happened? Yeah, I do, frankly. But I'm hoping that I can at least approach these teams with the idea that I want to be their point of contact. I want to be the person they deal with. So instead of having to go directly to somebody who might not be fully familiar with how this competitive scene works and how the players operate and what the expectations are, you can go through me. Because I know this stuff. I know these players. You know, I know this scene. And I know what players are looking for and what we can give them through SNK. So that's kind of the gist of that. Is I just want to make sure that I can help be that liaison. If there ever needs to be something done through the owner, it can go through me first. So hopefully that'll make the next team's experience a little bit better, or they'll feel better about it, you know, however it all happens. So that's the gist of that situation. Now I'm going to try to get caught up on the questions. But I hope that helps put things into perspective a bit. Alright. Thoughts on the 8 through 10 EU team. It's a very interesting situation. I mean, Team Rocket has been slowly working their way back up. We kind of talked about all this when I announced them on the rankings. But Team Rocket's been playing consistently, which is good. They've been placing very highly in tournaments, if not winning them, like in ESL. So they've been looking good there. Three Musketeers have not looked quite as good as they used to, but are still playing fairly well. They do need to figure out what the issue is before they fall out of the rankings. And Anavia, again, they're just brand new. And they won ESL this past week. They've looked very good lately. And they've just been one of those teams that had previously fallen into a situation where, because of the amount of competition, once you dip below number 10, it gets really intense. It's been hard to get them on that list. But now, that big win effectively did it. So, when do you think we'll start to see female players in top teams? When we get female players who can play at that level. I mean, that's really it. There's no secret formula there. Regardless of gender, if you're a good player and you can do the kind of stuff that everybody else can, or at least from a pro level, then yeah, you'll get on a team. That's pretty easy. Is there a world power ranking? No. There's not, because there's no real international competition, and the reason we can do it by region is there's consistently head-to-head competition between all these teams. Best team in EU? They're the one at the top of the list. Flip side. It's easy. Alright, trying to get all caught up. If I miss your question by the time I say I'm done, just ask it again, but I'm trying to get caught up here. The league tournament is going to be the top 4 teams in EU and the top 4 teams in NA in an 8-team double eland tournament. So they will all, it'll be international play. Yeah, I think Dedu is just acting as a sub on occasion because he's still SK. So I guess the other members of that are victorious bastards, so. Yeah, Nexus has kind of fallen off the radar with the NAC as far as being that a really effective NA team that they used to be. So. What do sponsors usually offer? It depends. You know, when it comes to Rocket League, very, very few teams are going to be able to get the things like salaries and really big perks, you know? And the reason that, say, Cosmic was able to get that is because mainly they had Kronovi, who could be a big draw because he had so many viewers on a consistent basis and everything. But other players are starting to get that because teams are trying to get involved and they're holding out. They're asking for what they want, and that's fair. You know, teams that are exceptionally good should try to get some pretty good perks out of that. So, well, we'll see if that actually, what else we get out of that. Sponsors also can offer things like Twitch partnerships, just promotion, you know, whatever. It all depends on the size of the partner and the size of the scene and the size of the team, really, like the effectiveness of that team. There are a few teams that I'm going to try to contact and gauge their interest and see what they want to be involved in. And just try to open that dialogue, you know, because obviously I've got some work to do at this point. I've always thought highly of Galactic Lions. They were in the top 10. They've only fallen out because of everything else above them. But they're just 11th right now, so they're in a very good spot. Victorious Bastards, they had a very good run in ESL. I'd like to see just some more out of them. That's really it. The players on that team I've seen a lot across different teams, but I'd just like to see a little bit more of them. Am I happy with the 5-0 loss for SNK? I'm sure you're referring to their loss against Kings of Urban. No, I'm not happy about it. Of course not. But I can't say I'm too shocked. I mean, Kings of Urban is a very powerful, very strong NA team, and a very good team, period. Like, I don't even have to qualify that with NA. They're just a very good team, period. And I guess it doesn't really surprise me that much, depending on everything. So, all right, Used Wolf's going to sponsor the first female team. Okay, I trust your judgment on that, and I trust you can do it. Not really, but I'm going to say that. Anyway, let's see. When is the commentary with Mike? I don't know. Who's the best player not on a team yet? Good question. I don't know. Who's currently not on a team that I would say that about? I know who I would have said that about, but I also know that he is now on a team. I don't know what they're called though, but they are on a team. So it's a good question, but I'm not sure, because I'm not sure who all the free agents are right now. Can I explain what will happen at the end of Week 7 for Pro League? Yeah, Week 7 will come to an end. We will then have our top 4 teams in both regions, and hopefully we won't have any major tiebreaker scenarios, but basically we'll go through, if there are any ties, the first thing we'll look at is direct head-to-head. What was the result of those two teams playing each other? If there's some kind of three-way tie, we'll look at combined head-to-head, we look at goal differential. There's a lot of factors we're going to look at, but we will come up with a top 4 for both regions, and that will be the playoffs. Those will be the playoff teams going into the final tournament. They will, of course, we'll have the All-Star event after that, the next week, which will determine the home field advantage, essentially, throughout the tournament. But yeah, that's really how it works. Will there be separate rankings for Xbox players? Probably not, because I don't see an entire competitive scene emerging around Xbox. It's probably just going to be more of a casual thing. But if it does, I guess we'll look at it at that point. What do I think about team communication? Is it better to talk a lot or not talk at all? I have seen teams that have the most success when they don't talk a lot. Teams that talk too much tend to clutter up their comms, have a lot of miscommunication, and just confusion, Not talking at all can be difficult, depending on the team. What you need to do as a team is build a rapport and basically build an understanding of what... There's one word that separates good teams from great teams, and it's called trust. You have to trust your teammates to make shots, to make clears, to do all the necessary stuff that they should be doing, so that you're not both going up for the same ball. You're not committing to 2 cars or 3 cars to the same shot or to the same defensive stop. So it's all those things that you have to be mindful of, when you go into it. So I think when it comes to talking, you do need to do it a little bit sometimes. But you don't want to just clutter the comms with constant chatter, because it'll really make things difficult to do. Alright. This is the end of the power ranking show, so yes, this is just a Q&A for now. It'll be a Q&A until the show's done, or until the questions stop. Alright. Yeah, I didn't say Scrub Killer because he's got a team. I just don't know what the name of that team is. Alright. Who has a bigger contract, Flipside or IBP, and what do they get from sponsors? I don't know the ins and outs of their deal. If I had to guess, I would say Cosmic, because they held out for a long time. And they are sponsored, they have all those perks they get, so I would say they have a better deal. But I don't know all the details of it. Like, I know Cosmic has a salary. That's as much as I know. SNK was formerly Apollo, so I'm assuming that team is back to being known as Apollo 11. But yeah, as it stands right now, I'm the only Rocket League team member for SNK, so it's just me right now. All right. What's up with Team Firewall? I don't know. You know them better than I do. Alright. Still trying to get caught up here. Yeah, Comrade's undergone some roster changes. Most competitive players play on PC these days just because it's easier to, you know, coordinate matches and get into private games with more players and everything like that. But you can still be competitive on PS4. I've seen it. But most players in the scene are on PC. Alright. I think I am completely caught up. So, alright. You see it? Yeah, I had this on sale at the end of last year. This was the shirt that I had up on that promotion. But not promotion, but up for sale. And this is it. Came in. Yeah, there's reasons to play on PC versus PS4. I've never played on PS4, so don't know. Alright, well, one more call if anybody has any further questions about, again, if you have any questions about the power rankings, the competitive scene, the game itself, whatever it might be, you know the routine. Just ask away. Any question at all, now's a good time. Because if I run out of questions, then I'm just going to wrap up pretty soon. But, you know, Team Rocket's performance depends entirely on how well they play. In other words, they'd fall out of the top 15. No, I'm kidding. I don't really know. Whose tutorials do I recommend? Oh man, there are a lot of good ones out there. Obviously, Team Rocket has always had a good set of them. I think Gibbs has some pretty good ones for like really new players. There's good stuff from, I think A-Money has some, and there's a lot, man. There are a lot of pretty good tutorials out there. Alright. What's the deal with Fisho Kid? I don't know, Jerry. Do you think there are changes to the game physics that can help the competitive scene? I don't think so. I wouldn't want the game to fundamentally change. I think from a physics standpoint, it's good. You know, I think the control for everything is good and it's being learned, and players who are starting with Rocket League are kind of mastering how the ball reacts and how the cars react and how the field, you know, where the ball bounces when it hits certain points in the field. And I think that's important, and if you change that now, it could really disrupt things. So, I think it's fine. I wouldn't want it to change. Is this the real Shalthis? There's only one. Alright, yeah, A-Money has really good ones. Some of the other ones are kind of older, so I don't know how valid they still are. A lot of like the basic stuff is still valid. But I don't know if Team Rocket directly played against Three Musketeers. Weird. Alright. Yeah, I don't know the exact specs. You probably have to check Steam to see exactly what they want. Yeah, I have. They just made that announcement today, so brand new Deadmau5 items that are going to be coming in the February patch. So, they're quick about that sort of stuff. You know, you get him playing for a while, and yeah, a new Dead Mouse topper and antenna are going to be coming in the next patch. So. Yes, I think at this point, when it comes to Flipside being #1, there's really no debate anymore. That's kind of it. They are clearly #1. They really clobbered Crown and Jewels and established themselves this week. It's just no like undisputed #1. Basically what I'm saying. Well, there's the question. I can explain it. So, the Pro League is not the only measurement for these power rankings. And in the Pro League, you know, yeah, they have played better. But overall, we have to look at the bigger picture, which is every major event. And we've got Flipside Tactics, who won Gfinity this week, and also 4-1 defeat Crown and Jewels. When you have a direct head-to-head loss like that, and it's so lopsided, and you've had very solid performance from this team thus far, it's not like Crown and Jewels had this huge lead when they were in #1, like there was this big separation between 1 and 2. That's not what happened. It was a very close decision. Even if it was unanimous, it was still a very close decision. And we didn't have the head-to-head result to go by, so we were basing it off of their overall performance and their power, their effectiveness as a team, and Crown and Jewels just edged out Flipside as of last week for how their performance went. But this week, we have the direct head-to-head. Flipside clearly is back into their usual fighting form, and there's no debate. They are clearly the #1 team. You know, I mean, there's no way I can debate that. Not sure when the February patch is going to be. They've just said it's going to be February. But yeah, I mean, that's it. That's all it really comes down to is Flipside won the head-to-head, did so in commanding fashion, and because the 1 and 2 was so close, that was what the deciding factor was going to be. And I even said that last week. You know, when we put Crown and Jewels at #1, I said last week that, you know, that's going to come down to next week's game. Like, when they play head-to-head, that's going to decide who #1 in the power rankings is. And when you also add in... Oh, God.
I want
the donation.
with
apparently I got a donation, but the message got put off stream. So I don't know anything it said. I think it went. Did it go? I don't know what happened. Anyway, I mean, thank you for the donation, whatever it was. I'd have to check the old... $4.20. Thank you for the $4.20 donation. Is that still going, or is it... Alright, I think it stopped. I don't know how long it was going to go for. But, thank you, El Olive, for that $4.20. Okay, anyway. What are the Twitch channels that show the major events? Well, the major events are probably going to be the Pro League, which takes place every Sunday. That is going to be twitch.tv/Rocket League Central. There is Gfinity, which I don't know. I knew where it was. I don't know where it's going to be now. This Saturday's event is going to be on twitch.tv/FreezingWolves. So, we'll be casting that. There's also other Saturday events, Rocket League, which takes place, that's an NA event, 5 o'clock p.m. every Saturday. That takes place at twitch.tv/Rocket League. ESL, I don't know. That's always hit or never really know for sure. Is there going to be any games? Not on this channel, not today. I don't know if I'd... I mean, here's the problem of a shirt with my face on it. I'm sure the shirt you're referring to is probably the sploon Shalthis face, and I would need to actually literally take a new picture to do that on a shirt, because the icon is so small it would not work on a print. There is no bigger version of it, so I would literally have to take a new sploon Shalthis picture in order to make that happen, and I don't know if I can replicate the original. It has a lot of value to it. Anyway, am I still shoutcasting Rocket League? Yes. I will not be doing it this Saturday because I had previous obligations with Gfinity to do the Invitational. But after this Saturday, every Saturday going forward, I will be still shoutcasting Rocket League. Oh, there's nothing wrong with the Pash. I like the Pash. I mean, thank you very much for your positive feedback. I'm glad you enjoy what James Bott and I do. I like working with James Bott. He's a good guy. But I like working with the Pash, too. It's the thing with the Pash is that he and I are both the same sort of caster. We're both play-by-play. We're not color. That's where James Bott and Shogun and those type of guys, that's where they fall in, is having that, so... Well, I have the original. The thing is like, okay, even the original Sploon Shalthis picture is a crop from a webcam from an overlay of a shoutcast. So it's still, like, it's not even a full HD video. It's the full video shrunken down with the little window for the webcam and then my face in that. So it's still really freaking small. and that's the problem with it. Maybe I could do like that Andy Warhol style, like the 4 pictures with the Sploon Shalthis face and like the different colors. I don't know. All right. Well, tell you what. We'll figure it out. I'll kick around a few ideas. Maybe I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll kick around a few different ideas, a few different plans, and then I will post a poll up on Twitter and let you all vote on it and decide what you think the next shirt design should be. So, but I like the ideas. I wonder if I could... That would be really difficult. But what if I could do it like really small, but like a pattern? So you couldn't really tell what it was from far away, but if you looked at it, you could see that it was the Sploon face. I don't know. So, I see... I'm not sure what the updated roster is. I don't know if that's accurate. I don't think it is. I've gone bald before. I don't really think I want to do that. But, alright, cool. Well, tell you what we're going to do, folks. I think I'm going to wrap this up for now. I appreciate the $4.20 donation, for sure, even if the message got completely pushed off the screen. And I appreciate all the follows and all the questions, as always. And, Do I think... Who? I want to answer that question, but I'm not sure who you're asking about. SO? Not going bald again. Don't worry. Yeah, we'll make that the last question, but I just need to know what it was. Oh, SK. Yeah, I think they can. They're not that far away from breaking into that top 4, or being in that top 4. I think, in fact, aren't they currently top 4? I mean, I might be wrong, but either way, I mean, I think they're fine. I think they'll be able to do that. So, I think they can hold on to it, I guess, is the real statement here. Like, I think they'll be able to maintain that. But, we'll see. Okay, cool. Alright, everybody. We are out of here. I'm out of here. So, again, thank you all so much for everything. I will see you later on tonight. I'm going to have a special stream. I'm just going to do, I call it a creative stream. Because I'm going to be doing a little bit of logo design, but a special logo design stream. We're doing it for somebody who I recently got hired to do their next logo for, and I'm kind of excited to show it. So we'll do that later, but thank you all again for tuning in. Hopefully I'll see you later tonight. It's going to be very late, though. So take care, have a great rest of your day, and I will see you all next time.